What if the palpable reality your senses swear is immutable were, in essence, an illusory projection, a vibratory hologram orchestrated by forces operating outside the spectrum of your everyday perception? What price would you pay to lift the veil of Maya and contemplate the somatic architecture of the universe, knowing that such gnosis would instantly label you a heretic in the eyes of the established canon? This is not merely a story. It is an initiatory call to shatter the mental prison that has been erected layer upon layer, generation after generation, designing humans who grow from the pinnacle of consciousness into the mud, yet are conditioned to believe that only dense matter is real. Ancient wisdom, that library sealed with the sigils of oblivion, has always maintained that we are the architects of our own inner cosmos and, by extension, co-creators of the outer one. However, at the turn of the 20th century, crucial knowledge, the vibratory power of life, the self-healing inherent in our biological design, was brutally eradicated from the collective consciousness. We are about to descend into the depths where the censored truth resides. The truth that a Japanese scientist, Michio Kushi, dared to testify to in 1999 before the highest temples of power, revealing the fragility of matter and the limitless potential of human intention. This revelation was not only silenced, but also set off alarm bells among those who profit from illness and ignorance. Prepare to understand how quantum physics, with its dance of subatomic particles that actually collapse only under the observer's gaze, confirms the energetic structure that Taoist sages encoded millennia ago in the three treasures, the crucibles of our vitality, emotion, and spirit. Our mission today is to recover the scattered fragments of the shattered mirror of truth. We will unravel the threads that connect the medical suppression of 1910, when the Flexner Report redefined medicine to favor the chemical monopoly, with the arcane wisdom of the Dantians, our vital centers that current neuroscience is only now beginning to validate. We will see how imbalance, what we perceive as physical illness, is merely the delayed echo of a dissonance that first gestated in the subtle bodies, the etheric planes of thought and emotion. This path demands more than mere curiosity. It demands courage, for truth is a double-edged sword that first decapitates inner illusions. The enlightenment we seek is the ability to operate our own biology, to circulate vital energy through the microcosmic orbit, revitalizing the Jing, balancing the Qi, and expanding the Shen, reversing the fall of consciousness to rise toward our original design, that master human who manipulates frequencies instead of being manipulated by them. Words, intentions, the food you eat, everything is vibration, and mastering these frequencies is the master key to controlling your reality. Let your intention be a beacon. Before the doors of forbidden knowledge open and we begin dismantling the illusions that define us, decree your will in the digital ether to nourish this frequency and demonstrate that the search for light is not dead. Give your like, subscribe to the channel if this is your inescapable path, and engrave on the altar of comments the sacred affirmation that seals your pact with the unknown. I seek the truth. We now begin the transcription of the first act. The primordial inversion of being is not a mystical metaphor, but rather an accurate description of our current biological and psychological orientation. The inverted human walks on the hands of spirit and the feet of matter, mistaking the reflection for the source, eternally seeking fulfillment outside of themselves in structures meticulously designed to perpetuate thirst. We have allowed voracious consumption and external validation to replace the internal generation of energy and purpose, reversing the natural flow of Jing, which should ascend and transmute, allowing it to drain down to the lower roots, into fear, unbridled appetite, and unconscious reproduction. This inversion first manifests in the breath, shallow, incomplete, a survival mechanism rather than an anchor of consciousness. The command center has shifted. The master human operates from the heart and higher brain, synchronizing the toroidal fields. But the inverted human has surrendered the scepter to the lower abdomen, the seat of reactive emotions and material concerns. Thus, the energy field weakens and control becomes trivial, for a system operating in perpetual deficit will always seek an external solution, a crutch or a chemical patch to compensate for the internal void. We have accepted the surrender of our biological authority, the handing over of the master key to self-healing, under the illusory promise of security and expertise. This is the critical nexus that connects personal energy investment with systemic control. Control is not established through brute force, but through the engineering of need. If they manage to convince you that your body is a random machine, prone to failure and requiring an external expert for its maintenance, sovereignty over your own existence has been irrevocably lost. The Flexner Report of 1910 is the cornerstone of this expropriation. Funded by industrial giants, the Rockefeller and Carnegie Foundations, this report was not a disinterested evaluation of medical education. It was a strategic maneuver to consolidate power under a chemical paradigm. Flexner, not a physician himself, dictated that only allopathic medicine, based on the patenting of synthetic drugs and aggressive intervention, would be considered legitimate science, guaranteeing university funding only to those schools that aligned themselves with the new petrochemical model of healthcare. This is the turning point that changed everything. The medical monopoly we know today didn't arise from scientific superiority, but from brutal economic suppression. Homeopathy, osteopathy, chiropractic, vibrational and herbal therapies, any practice that promoted self-healing and didn't generate pharmaceutical dependence was deliberately dismantled, discredited, and financially strangled. This act was the true schism, where health ceased to be a state of internal equilibrium attainable by the individual and became a commodity managed by the pain cartel, a business based on chronic illness. This system forces us to invert the equation of life. Instead of seeking the cause in energetic or emotional dissonance, we seek symptomatic relief in pills, the chemical blockage that masks the body's cry. Illness, according to the Flexner dogma, is a random event requiring an external agent for its correction, never a reflection of our alignment with universal principles. We have been deprived of the subtle language of energy, leaving us deaf to the frequencies that heal us. But the answer to primordial inversion and monopoly is the recovery of inner alchemy, the conscious activation of the microcosmic orbit. This orbit is not an abstract, esoteric concept, but the primary energy circuit that unifies the bodily microcosm. It is the sacred pathway that connects the governing vessel, Dumai, ascending the spine, the Yang channel, with the conception vessel, Renmai, descending the front, the Yin channel. The deliberate activation of this orbit is the supreme act of biological sovereignty, the method for transcending imposed dependence. When the circuit is sealed and the flow is constant, Jing, primordial essence, is recycled without loss, transformed into Qi, pure vital energy, and ascends to nourish Shen, the spirit, the higher consciousness. This process not only prevents disease, but also reverses the process of degeneration and senescence. True healing is the ability to move this energy in a continuous cycle, to merge the forces of heaven and earth within the body's core. When this circulation is interrupted by trauma, poor diet, reverse breathing, or mind control, the energy stagnates, creating blockages that eventually manifest as pathologies. The system wants us stagnant so that we are predictable and dependent. The orbit liberates us so that we are self-sufficient and unpredictable in the face of control. Mastering the microcosmic orbit is recovering the confiscated instruction manual. It is transforming the body from a mere receiver of environmental and chemical impacts into a self-regulating, high-frequency generator. It is the master key to escaping the matrix of pain and biological scarcity, demonstrating that we are perfectly equipped internal pharmacies that do not need the intervention of the inverted world. The next step in this revelation requires us to look directly at the mechanics of this self-generation. Close your eyes for a moment. Notice your breath, the subtle energy rising and falling through your torso. Do you feel the flow of life like an endless river or like a stagnation? Ask yourself with brutal honesty, have I surrendered my authority over my body to an external system that benefits from my illness? Let that question resonate in the emptiness within. The inverted human is a creature whose energetic architecture has been deliberately subverted to ensure its submission. We are not speaking merely of postural or dietary errors, but of a systemic design that ensures its attention, breath, and vital energy flow outward, toward dependency and dissipation, rather than circulating internally for self-sustainability. This inversion begins with the breath of life, the human breathing upward, shallowly, drawing anxiety into the chest, instead of anchoring the spirit in the lower center of will. This energetic dislocation translates into a surrender of sovereignty. The inner fire of the solar plexus, which should burn with will and direction, is extinguished, forcing the individual to constantly operate from the lower centers of survival or from the higher centers of abstract fantasy, disconnected from embodied reality. It is a state of constant imbalance where energy escapes through the crown and base of the head, preventing the accumulation necessary for conscious manifestation and spontaneous healing. The primary tool of this investment is distraction and sensory overload, which prevent quiet introspection. If human beings could remain still long enough to feel the true flow of their own energy, the illusion of external control would instantly collapse. Therefore, the system floods consciousness with noise, projected fear, and false emergencies, keeping the vibrational field at a frequency of reaction rather than creation. We have been programmed to view illness as a random attack or a genetic defect, never as the logical consequence of reversed energy flow and the accumulation of emotional and chemical toxins. This perspective forces us to seek solutions outside ourselves, to surrender our biological authority to priests specializing in pathology who have never studied the holistic healing of the spirit or the circulation of qi. The culmination of this investment lies in the belief that someone else holds the key to our well-being. This belief is not innate. It was meticulously instilled through the social engineering that solidified the healthcare monopoly. The Flexner Report. This document was not merely a curriculum update, it was the hammer that shattered any approach to medicine that promoted patient independence. The critical date is 1910. The Flexner Report, funded by interests seeking to establish the supremacy of petroleum-based pharmacology and invasive surgery, acted as a draconian filter. It expelled homeopathy, naturopathy, energy medicine, and herbalism from universities, burning entire libraries of knowledge that honored the body's innate capacity to regenerate itself without constant chemical dependency. The dramatic shift, the turning point that defines modern tyranny, is that these approaches were eradicated not because they were ineffective, but because they were too effective and too cheap. Holistic healing doesn't create chronic consumers, it creates sovereign individuals. The goal of the medical monopoly, rooted in Rockefeller's industrial vision, wasn't to heal humanity, but to manage disease as a perpetual cash flow. Health became a patentable commodity, not an inherent right. This purge redefined illness as an entity to be combated with chemicals, never as an imbalance of vital force. The physician, stripped of ancestral wisdom, became a technician specializing in reductionist diagnoses. an agent of the pharmaceutical industry whose training focuses on symptomatic management, not on eradicating the energetic root cause. The direct consequence of Flexner's work was the criminalization of self-healing. Biological sovereignty was labeled as fraud or quackery, ensuring that the inverted human only had access to solutions that perpetuate the cycle of dependency, toxins, and palliative care. Trust in the body's natural healing mechanisms was systematically destroyed over a century. This is where the microcosmic orbit resonates as an act of biological and philosophical resistance. By reactivating the Renmai and Dumai circuits, the individual refuses to participate in the Flexnerian model. It is an energetic declaration that the body is not a faulty machine that needs external parts, but a self-regulating system of infinite energy. The orbit, by merging the fire of the heart with the water of the kidney, dissolves the emotional and chemical blockages that the inverted system uses to harbor disease. It is the physical response to mental inversion, demonstrating that true health arises from the uninterrupted flow of vital energy, restoring the connection between heaven and earth within the personal microcosm. Mastering the microcosmic orbit means regaining control of your internal thermostat. It means activating the master glands, the pineal, the pituitary, the thymus, which produce endogenous compounds of healing, vibration, and regeneration that surpass any synthetic palliative. The body becomes its own alchemical pharmacy, immune to the suggestions of external dependence. When the flow is restored, the fear programming that drives obedience to the medical monopoly disintegrates. The truth is revealed. Chronic illness is the most profitable form of slavery. The orbit is the key to escaping the matrix of disease and biological scarcity, demonstrating that sovereign humanity is inherently, irremediably healthy. Close your eyes and perceive your spine, from your tailbone to the crown of your head. Imagine that the light of your consciousness is the energy flowing freely through those channels. Ask yourself with absolute honesty, to whom have I surrendered my medical authority? Am I still honoring a system that profits from my stagnation, or am I ready to reclaim my inner pharmacy and my right to an uninterrupted flow of life? Let that question ignite the fire in your belly. Let us now discuss the internal architecture that Hermetic medicine, prior to modern fragmentation, always recognized: the three treasures, or Sanbao, Jing, Qi, and Shen, the trinity that defines human existence. These are not abstract metaphysical concepts, but rather centers of electrochemical and neuroendocrine resonance, called the dantians, which act as alchemical cauldrons and energy transformers. The body, viewed from this sovereign perspective, is not a mere aggregate of dysfunctional organs, but an integrated system of constant flow, designed for biological immortality and full consciousness. Provided these three centers operate in perfect synchronicity, deactivating or disrupting the harmony of one of them is the etiological root of all pathology, as it breaks the natural regeneration circuit, allowing energetic fissures to manifest as chronic ailments that the conventional system only superficially alleviates. The lower dantian, located 2 inches below the navel, is the repository of Jing, the original essence, analogous to the genetic capital and structural vitality we inherit and manage daily. It is the storehouse of primordial energy, the engine of the bone marrow and reproductive system, the source of physical resilience and longevity. Modern neuroscience observes it in the density of nerve connections in the solar plexus and enteric nervous system. Our second brain, Zhu, which regulates not only digestion, but also much of our emotional response and instinctive decision-making. When Jing is depleted by chronic stress, a toxic diet, or energetic promiscuity, the system loses its foundation, manifesting as adrenal fatigue, infertility, and autoimmune diseases. It is a collapse at the very base of bodily sovereignty, a surrender to accelerating entropy. The middle dantian, centered on the heart and thymus region, is the crucible of qi, the vital energy in motion, the dynamic force that modulates cardiovascular, respiratory, and immune function. It is the bridge between the dense physical body and higher consciousness, the seat of genuine emotions. Cardiology has begun to validate, through heart rate variability, HRV, and the existence of sensory neurons in the heart, that this organ is, in fact, a primary emotional brain capable of sending more signals to the cranial brain than it receives, thus defining our emotional state. However, this revolutionary knowledge, which compels us to integrate emotion as a source of health or disease, qi, is systematically minimized by the prevailing medical establishment, which prefers to treat the manifestation of cardiac imbalance and immune deficiency with invasive and pharmacological interventions, rather than addressing the energetic and emotional management that is the true cause of the blockage in this crucial dantian, thereby perpetuating patient dependency. Finally, the upper dantian, located in the cranial center between the pituitary and pineal glands, is the abode of Shen, the spirit or transcendental consciousness. Shen is the manifestation of our connection to the unified field of information, the key to profound intuition, creativity, and the perception of reality beyond the five senses. Esoteric medicine has always known that the pineal gland, activated by the ascending flow of Jing and Qi, is the antenna that decodes truth and produces endogenous compounds, such as dimethyltryptamine, DMT, facilitating expanded states of consciousness and profound healing. When Shen is dispersed, we live in a state of perpetual distraction and superficial anxiety. It is the quintessential modern imbalance, exacerbated by electromagnetic pollution and dietary calcification of the pineal gland, imposed conditions that ensure humanity remains in a state of slumber, disconnected from its divine potential, and therefore dependent on materialistic dogma and the pill that promises chemical peace. True health mastery lies not in dissecting isolated symptoms, the fundamental error of the medical monopoly, but in unifying and continuously circulating these three treasures. When Jing is strong and grounded, Qi is abundant and flows unobstructed, and Shen is clear and focused, the osmosis of biological immortality occurs. The body transforms from a carbon structure to a structure of light and higher vibration. Understanding the dantians is not just energetic anatomy, it is a daily alchemical practice. It is the recognition that vital energy must not only be conserved, but intentionally circulated through the microcosmic orbit, the sacred pathway we studied earlier. Ignoring this intentional circulation is like possessing a vast fortune and leaving it stagnant in a vault, becoming useless and rusting. This is the map out of the biological prison we have been taught to accept, reclaiming the inherent healing that the science of spirit has always promised, freeing us from the yoke of programmed disease. Now, locate the center of your chest, right at the middle dantian. Feel the air gently flowing in and out, expanding that center. With utmost sincerity, ask yourself, which treasure have I neglected most in my recent life? My foundation, Jing. My emotional vitality, Qi, or my mental and spiritual clarity, Shen? Allow the answer to arise from the silence. And what small, concrete action can I take today to honor that forgotten center, reactivating the inner alchemy that is rightfully mine? The first great revelation of this act, too, is that of the inverted human, the being who lives with their energetic center of gravity inverted, drawing resources from the future instead of nourishing the present. This is the programmed state, a system that consumes Jing, primordial essence, through instant gratification, chronic stress, and a sexuality devoid of transcendent or alchemical intention. We have been taught to look outward, to externalize the energy that should be circulating and sublimating internally for the continuous regeneration of the subtle body. This investment manifests physically as constant adrenal fatigue, accelerated cellular degeneration, and, crucially, intestinal dysfunction. The enteric system, our second brain, and the physical seat of our vitality, is constantly assaulted by chemicals, toxic frequencies, and an industrialized, devitalized diet. By ignoring the intrinsic connection between gut health and the Jing base, we weaken the biological anchor that supports the ascent and purity of Qi and Shen. Without this strong, rooted foundation, the higher structure of the being inevitably collapses under the vibrational pressure of the environment. Emotion is the driving force behind this inversion, and the system's favorite weapon, fear, anxiety, imposed guilt, and chronic anger, act as direct and constant energy drains, forcing the body into a permanent survival mode that burns through essential fuel, Jing, at a catastrophic rate. The inverted human uses these reactive states to justify their inertia and lack of autonomy, falsely believing that action must arise from tension and imbalance, when true alchemical action emerges from profound stillness and the strategic accumulation of essence. The true terror of this inversion is not merely individual, it is intrinsically systemic and premeditated. Modern civilization is meticulously designed to keep us in this state of chronic inversion, intentionally consuming our vital reserves to fuel an economic and social engine that only thrives and is only sustained through chronic illness, external dependency, and the perpetual pursuit of stimulation. This dependency is not a design flaw. It is the master design executed with cold precision. It is the architecture of biological fragility. This design inevitably leads to absolute control over health and the sovereignty of the body. If healing were inherently internal, holistic, and completely self-sufficient, if the individual could regenerate their own Jing, the medical and pharmacological control system would instantly collapse. This is where the architecture of organized disease comes into play, a structure that was formalized at a precise historical moment, redefining what healing truly is, and more importantly, who has the divine right to practice or possess it. What institutional mechanism crystallized and protected this dependency, sealing the exclusion of ancestral knowledge? The Flexner Report of 1910 should not be seen as a mere curriculum adjustment. It was the most effective coup in the history of health and human consciousness. Funded directly by giant industrial interests, especially those linked to petrochemicals, Rockefeller, and subsequently pharmaceuticals, this report systematically eradicated the schools of natural medicine, homeopathy, naturopathy, and herbalism that were flourishing in North America. These institutions promoted self-management of health and the use of non-patentable remedies, an unacceptable threat to the emerging model. The perfect alibi was standardization under a rigorous, materialistic scientific approach. The hidden reality was the ruthless elimination of any competence that offered sovereignty and autonomy over the body. By consolidating medical education under a model purely focused on pathology and chemical or surgical intervention, a model that ignores vital energy, Qi, and essence, Jing, it was ensured that the only solution for depleted Jing or stagnant Qi was always external, costly and controlled, never internal and free. This entrenched monopoly created the modern pharmaceutical trap. The direct symptoms of inversion, fatigue, anxiety, insomnia, chronic pain, were immediately transformed into profitable diagnoses requiring lifelong medication without ever addressing the root cause. The profound disconnection of the individual from their higher energy circuit. Hegemonic medicine became the maintenance mechanism for the inverted human, not the tool for its transcendence, thus making it the jailer of vitality. The underlying and difficult-to-accept objective is not the total eradication of disease, but its controlled management, its chronicity, and its perpetual profitability. A completely healthy, energetically autonomous, and dependency-free population is a systemic threat. Flexnerism ensures that authority over vitality remains outside the individual, enshrining the fear of disease as the most powerful mechanism of social and financial control of our time. We have identified the core problem, the inversion, and we have traced the institutional structure that perpetuates it, the Flexnerian medical monopoly. The only real way out of this labyrinth of dependency and programmed disease is to recover the biological technology and the internal circuitry that dismantles the design of the inverted human. We need to reactivate the path to power, the ancient technology of the microcosmic orbit. The microcosmic orbit, known in Taoist texts as the path of the Tao or the circle of the law, is the primary route for the alchemical circulation of qi. It synergistically connects the Ren, frontal or yin, and Du, Bakal or yang, vessels. It is the channel of communication and refinement between the three treasures, ensuring that Jing is efficiently transmuted into qi, which then nourishes and stabilizes the Shen. By consciously activating it, we reverse the natural tendency toward entropy, stagnation, and energy loss. When the human is inverted, energy disperses around the periphery in reactive acts or painfully stagnates in the lower dantian, rotting into untransmuted essence. By initiating the orbit, we force the ascent of renewed water, Jing, through the spine and the descent of purified fire, Shen, through the front, creating a hermetic circuit of internal refinement. This is not merely a conceptual abstraction, it is applied energetic physics. It is the biological thermostat that regulates the temperature and vital pressure within the alchemical body. Activating this circuit requires three fundamental elements: a focused mind, Shen directing intention, deep breathing, qi moving energy, and physical stillness, Jing grounding the base. You should feel warmth rising up the spine, Du Mai, and coolness and calming descending down the front of the body, Ren Mai. This constant, gentle circulation regenerates tissues at a subatomic level and, crucially, seals the energy leaks created by imposed stress and fear. It is the direct antidote to Flexnerism, transforming the body into its own inexhaustible pharmacy. Mastery of this practice lies not in a single dramatic meditation event or a one-off spiritual retreat, but in relentless consistency. Circulating the orbit, even briefly, several times a day, reprograms the autonomic nervous system, forcing it out of fight or flight mode. This is what it means, in practical terms, to reclaim biological sovereignty, to make vital energy work for the ascension and self-deification of the being, and not for its slow decay or the benefit of an external structure. The microcosmic orbit is, therefore, the inescapable bridge between programmed external chaos and immutable internal order. By mastering the engineering of this circuit, we definitively free ourselves from the yoke of induced illness and become the model of the self-healing being, the transcendent being. It is the final map for biological self-deification, the closure of the wound opened by social investment, and the triumphant consolidation of the three treasures in their purest form. Take a moment, place both hands on your middle dantian, right in the center of your chest. Feel how that center, the seat of your emotional and relational vitality, pulsates with the awareness of the here and now. Ask yourself now, not with your intellect, but with your gut. Am I currently operating as an inverted human, reactively surrendering my energy, or am I reclaiming my power circuit? And what small orbit-activating action can I integrate today to redirect that force toward my own essential regeneration? Let the answer be a seed of fire, a spark of autonomy. We have traversed the map of inversion, reclaimed the internal circuit of power through the microcosmic orbit, and consolidated biological sovereignty over programmed entropy. Now, Only one link remains to seal the alchemy and manifest transcendence: the understanding of the vibratory power of the word. The word is not simply the vehicle of social communication, but the vibratory crystallization of the frequency generated in the three dantians. It is the point of emanation where essence, Jing, energy, Qi, and spirit, Shen, once aligned and purified by the constant flow of the orbit, are projected onto the ether, manifesting reality. The inverted being uses the word to describe their limitations and fears, acting as a mere repeater of social programming. In contrast, the ascended being uses it as a hammer of creation, an inescapable decree that compels the quantum field to obey the sacred geometry of pure intent. When the microcosmic orbit flows without friction, free from the emotional obstructions of the solar plexus and the mental dispersion of the third eye, the word that emerges from the laryngeal center is an inaudible yet immensely powerful mantra. Each syllable emitted, conscious of inner sovereignty, carries the charge of the original logos, the primordial frequency of creation. The voice then becomes an instrument of molecular engineering. This is not poetry, it is spiritual physics. You don't speak about health, you decree health in the structure of your cells. You don't wait for abundance. You vibrate abundance through language devoid of complaint or lack. This is linguistic sovereignty, the final phase of self-deification, where sound becomes the active principle of reality, nullifying the external narratives of scarcity and disease that the system tries to impose. Mastery of the word implies mastery of silence. The inability to be silent, the constant urge to fill the void with noise, is a hallmark of the reactive self, the inverted human who fears their own inner resonance. Transcendence teaches us that only when the lower dantian is firmly grounded in the earth and the higher dantian merges with the infinite through meditation on the orbit does silence become fertile. From that profound silence, the word springs forth like a crystalline fountain, charged with immaculate intention, devoid of the ego's reactivity or the need for external validation. It is the language of the master self who has transcended the duality of superficial words to access the power of the manifesting word. This is the crucial difference between empty sound and powerful vibration. The inverted self speaks with the air in their lungs. The sovereign self speaks with the essence of their soul, channeled through the perfected energy circuit. It is a final seal on the cosmic contract we sign with our own divinity. By purifying the word, we purify our destiny. If your body is a temple and the orbit is the key to igniting the light of that temple, then the word is the chant that resonates in your sacred chambers, determining the quality of inner worship. Stop using your tongue to record external chaos. Begin using it to command inner perfection. The ultimate enlightenment lies in recognizing that we are beings of resonance. The word is the bridge that connects inner truth, peace, health, the integrity of the orbit, with external experience. Ascension is not a future event. It is a frequency modulation that occurs the instant our linguistic expression aligns with our highest vibrational truth. The end of inversion is the beginning of proclamation. Proclaim your integrity, decree your sovereignty, and watch as the universe yields to the will of a being who has finally learned to speak the language of creative fire without hesitation or concessions to programmed mediocrity. The word is the map, the orbit is the engine, and biological sovereignty is the destination. Ultimate sovereignty is not about how much control one has over the outside world, but about the flawless purity of intention that filters through one's inner circuitry, ultimately manifested in the unshakable authority of one's word. Considering the power of the proclamation, what linguistic pattern of limitation or lack that you use daily are you ready to dismantle and replace with a decree of absolute power in the next 24 hours? If this truth has resonated deep within you, if it has ignited the power circuit within, become a guardian of this wisdom. Share this message as an act of cosmic service to awaken other guardians. Subscribe now and activate the sacred notification bell to ensure your consciousness is permanently attuned to the portals of transcendent truth we reveal. The ascension never stops. We have reclaimed the body and the word. Now we must secure the higher mind. Click immediately on the next portal, title of next video, to continue your integration. The portal is open for only a moment. Procrastination is a subtle form of inversion. Secure your place in the next phase of expansion.